Hello. Hello, hello. That's better. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, it was. Okay, good. Okay.
Your mic's off, so I think that would be it. Your mic is on.
What to do with this? That down there. Sorry, my bag was in the way.
I lost my pen. Oh my God. It's my favorite. It's the last one.
Oh,
I
your
have.
pen?
My pen. Darn it. Oh, pen.
Pen. These are fun.
Yeah. This is the May 14th, 2025 meeting of the Brisbane Parks and Rec Commission. I will now start the meeting at 6:34 p.m. Roll call, please.
Yes, we'll start with Chairperson Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Comerford.
Present.
Commissioner Greenlee.
Here?
Commissioner Ocampo.
Present.
Commissioner Sims.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, adoption of agenda. Deletion, additions, or changes to it? Anyone? Okay, moving on.
I'd like to make a.
Oh,
Oh, I'd like to move to approve the agenda.
sorry.
I
Second.
second.
Okay. Motion to approve and seconded. The agenda is adopted. Next, we have approval of the minutes.
Trudy, sorry, can we do all in favor
Oh.
to
all in
adopt the
favor?
agenda? All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
Aye.
Agenda adopted. Next, approval of the minutes. And can I get a motion to approve the April 9th, 2025 minutes?
I'll motion to approve the April 2029 minutes.
Second.
Okay. We have approved the minutes.
Say all in favor.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay. Motion is approved to approve the minutes. Citizen communications.
We do not have any tonight.
Okay. Presentations and introduction of Christina Fernandez, new Assistant City Manager.
Okay, so it is my privilege and honor to introduce Christina Fernandez, our new Assistant City Manager. After a couple of years without an Assistant City Manager, we're very happy to have her. She comes to us with a ton of experience, and I know she will do wonderful things for this town. So just wanted to introduce her to all of you, and feel free to berate her with questions if you have them. Otherwise, she just came to put a face to a name tonight and say hello to all of you.
Yeah,
Hey, welcome.
Next is Club Rec.
All right, so we have our Recreation Coordinator, Angela, here with us tonight, and she's going to provide a brief presentation on our youth programs.
All right, well, I'm excited to be here today and share with you a glimpse of our youth childcare programs here in Brisbane from the last time that we met in May of 2024, leading up until where we are now in present day. So I'll be diving into some of our enrollment statistics and then also some highlights of our programs. But before that, I do have a little recap video for you all with some testimonials from families, staff, and then participants as well.
One of my favorite programs here that we have at REC is the summer camp program.
Please hold.
I'm paranoid that it's me.
Something with his feed.
My most favorite thing about it is
There.
one of my favorite programs here that we have at REC is the summer camp program. My most favorite thing about it is the LITs, the leaders in training. I got the opportunity to be their supervisor, so I get to mentor these amazing middle schoolers and high schoolers throughout the summer. I get to teach them a lot of leadership skills, handling the kids, and I'd say that's my most favorite part about camp.
I love Park and Rec because we get to do fun activities and we get to eat good snacks.
Thank you so much to the Brisbane Parks and Rec program for offering my family such a great opportunity, from parent night out to summer camp to the most desirable program, which is after school Park and Rec. We absolutely love you all and really appreciate the type of community and family that you have given all of us.
We have a son here in the Parks and Rec program. He does aftercare, he does all the parents' nights out, summer camp, most of the holiday camps, and we really appreciate the Parks and Rec program here in Brisbane. Our son is super enthusiastic. He does a lot of creative projects.
He always comes home happy.
And he always wants to sign up for everything.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. So that's a little recap so that you can get a little bit of an idea of what it is that we've been working on over the last year and all of our programs. And first, we're going to talk about our Club Rec After School program. We do have 120 participants enrolled currently, and some highlights from that, which you may have seen some of that in the video. We do offer enrichment clubs such as a STEM Lego club, Ooey Gooey club, and a youth martial arts club that we had in the fall. And those are opt-in programs that parents can choose to register their children for, in addition to the regular programming that we have day to day. We also have the library outreach visits when the library comes and brings special activities for the kids, whether it's button making or they bring their robots with their tablets, and the kids love to play with those. And then we more recently developed our partnership with the Brisbane School District through the ELOT program, which is the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, which covers the full cost of services like our after-school program and seasonal camps for those students who qualify. For students who are not part of the ELOT program, we do offer our fee waiver program, which is available to any resident who needs it for pretty much all of our programs, and that does reduce fees by 50%, and it is a pretty simple application process for that. And also wanted to give a shout out to Principal Higgins. This is his first year stepping into the role of Brisbane Elementary School principal, and it's been really great to collaborate with him and have open communication and just presenting a unified front to our families, and also the use of space throughout the school year on rainy days or on days when we need extra space for our clubs has been great to have, and he's been a pleasure to work with. And our preschool program, we have an average of 16 participants enrolled throughout the school year. And some highlights from that, which you may have seen in the video, was our Halloween parade, where we invite families to come out and watch their little ones participate in the Little Halloween Parade, and as well as our Lunar New Year Parade, which we had earlier this year. And we also have been developing our Grand Friends program, where we invite seniors in the Brisbane community to come to the classroom and do activities with the kids, read to them, sing songs with them. And it's been great to have that intergenerational programming, and the kids always get really excited when their grand friends come. They get them confused with grandparents, but we remind them that they are our grand friends. And then also Community Helpers Week, where we had SSF Scavenger come out and do a little presentation to the kids on how to sort their trash, their recycling, their compost, and provided some cool little stickers and activity books for them. We also have the library come out and do monthly story times with our preschoolers, which has been a really great addition to our programming as well. And Parents' Night Out, we had 4 over the last year or so, and we've had an average of 23 participants enrolled. And that structure is pretty much the kids come in from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. We give them dinner, we watch a movie, we have dessert, and parents get to enjoy a little Saturday night off to themselves. And our seasonal camps, starting with our summer camp last year, we had 90 participants per week. And our Thanksgiving camp, which is during that Monday through Wednesday of that Thanksgiving break, we had 36 participants enrolled. And our winter camp, the first week, we had 17 participants, and the second we had 33. And for spring camp, which was our most recent one that took place in April, we had 48 participants enrolled for the first session and 40 for the second session. And also wanted to highlight our Leaders in Training program, which my colleague Jeff Franco oversees, along with one of our recreation leaders, Tiki, who you saw in the video. Last year, they did have 35 applicants, and this year they have 48 applicants. And they started their interviews this week, and they're going to continue into next week to get our leaders in trainings, or our leaders in training settled in for their program this year. And a little preview of our summer camp program, which is going to be starting up this June. We do have 90 participants per week currently enrolled, and we have 88 children waitlisted. 27 of those on the wait list are residents and 61 are non-residents. And that is all that I have for you. Are there any questions?
Through the, oh, go ahead.
Of course, I couldn't help but notice that your summer camp is very impacted. Is there a way that you could see that we could expand it without completely redoing the program? Or do you have any ideas about how we could get more people,
Yeah, that is currently in the works. We assessed our staffing ratios, our budget, and also use of space. We are finalizing our use of space agreement currently, and that will be a determining factor in whether we can continue to expand the program. It likely wouldn't be for all of the weeks. We are looking at this year just because we are already approaching pretty quickly, potentially doing 2 weeks where we expand our wait list and take more children from the wait list and expand our program.
That was the question I was going to ask, but I have a follow-up to that, which is, of the current enrollees, how many of them are out of Brisbane, live out?
I don't have the exact numbers for that, but I will say that resident registration did begin 2 weeks before non-resident registration, and we weren't full yet when non-resident registration opened up.
Ah, okay.
People were kind of late.
Yeah, so it seems like people were kind of late and then they missed out.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that like finding a way to accommodate people would be wonderful. I had another question about the leaders in training. So I see we have many more applicants, which is awesome. How many are we able to accept?
So the goal is to try and accommodate as many as possible. It really depends on their availability over the summer. I know this year the structure is 2-week sessions, so they have to sign up for 2 consecutive weeks in order to be able to participate, and they have to be available for that. The purpose of it is to promote job readiness and prepare them for entering the workforce in a few years when they're old enough. So that's why we do have the interview process, and they do communicate directly with their supervisors versus their parents communicating with their supervisors. We do encourage that. So we are going to try to accommodate as many as possible, but we are looking at having 10 leaders in training per week currently, or per 2-week session.
Awesome. And just like the looks on those children's faces say it all. So thank you for all the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a couple, that leader in training program just looks great. And so I'm just curious about what are the age of the leaders in training that you're shooting for? And can you just explain a little bit, is there time commitment like a full day for 2 straight weeks? Looks like that's probably the case. And
Yeah.
then some of the activities that you're having them lead, and can you just walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so the age range is incoming 7th to 11th graders. So it is catered for participants who have finished their 6th grade year and are going into 7th grade the following year. And the age range is typically like 13 to 17 years old. And during the day, they do typically attend a full day, and there is some flexibility with that. If one day out of the week they have an appointment or a prior commitment, as long as they're communicating with their supervisors, it's typically okay. But in general, they do the full day commitment for 2 weeks. And during the day, they are assisting staff members and supporting them in any way they can. And they also do lead their own activities. We have designated time slots in our schedules where the LITs are responsible for coming up with and leading an activity for the rest of the group, just to give them a glimpse into what it's like to be a recreation leader. So they do a lot of the same things that our staff members do, except for the discipline aspect and the supervision of the children. They're more there to get the experience of being in camp with a little bit more responsibilities than a camper.
Through the chair, I just also wanted to add, it's such a great program, the leadership and training, and also like the summer programs. I have both kids in them. The leadership and training has also taught my older one how to be responsible from like certain days, like certain hours. It's like she gets like overwhelmed, but at the same time, she's learning so much as to help her, like, you know, for future growth. Also, you know, responsibility. They have like a check-in, check-out process during the summer. And it's all digital now, right? It's digital, like during the summer. They make sure that they have the right, and they have to card these adults to make sure that, hey, you have to card these adults to make sure that it's the right parent that's picking up. So it's a big responsibility that it's teaching these kids. So I just wanted to give you guys a great shout out for that. It's very well organized. For my little one, she's 9. She's so exhausted at the end of the day. There's a lot of, but it's a lot of responsibility that the whole camp teaches them. So thank you very much for all that. I think the whole process, that's why it's always sold out. I am on the waiting list, I think I mentioned. But it is a great program.
Thank you.
It's a great testimony. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, I just want to say, having grown up in the Parks and Recs program here in Brisbane, it's great to see them going on a lot of the same trips that I remember going to growing up. And the leadership program wasn't a thing when I was going, but I think it looks great and something I would have loved to do as well when I was going through it. You know, because I know aged out of rec was one of the main reasons that I stopped going, and that's, you know, that age range is something that we're trying to address as a commission a lot, targeting and getting more stuff for them to do in town rather than, you know, them all just going to other cities around. And so just to tag on to some of the questions that they had earlier, addressed from some of my fellow commissioners, you know, you were saying, we were talking about the limiting factors in expanding the camps. You mentioned you're doing a space analysis and budgeting. From your predictions right now on the stages they're at right now, what do you think is the largest limiting factor? Is it like the staffing or budgetary or like physical, like confined space on the site, or what? You know, if you could attribute it to one thing, what would you say the biggest like bottleneck is at the moment?
Yeah, I think that if we're talking a full expansion of the program, we would definitely have to analyze our budget and see what's possible within those parameters. And I would say, like I mentioned, another factor is just space and making sure that we have enough space to house all of those campers safely.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Can I follow up just real quickly? Because I was wondering about your budget. Do you feel that your budget's too small? You could use more? Is that something I'm hearing from you?
In terms of budget, the biggest cost is really transportation and also field trips and being able to accommodate everyone on the field trips, just because things are getting pricier now and admission rates are getting pricier for a lot of locations. So in terms of budget, those are the biggest factors, is transportation and field trips.
Do families pay extra for that, or is that just all included?
It's all included in the price of registration.
Okay. We might think about maybe figuring out a way to maybe compensate for some of that, or maybe ask the parents to chip in for field trips or something like that. Have you thought of that?
It's definitely something that the commission can look at the next time we do master fee schedule updates.
Okay.
And recommendations to the council. You did recommend increasing the price of the day camp fee, which would impact summer camps, but that will not go into effect for this summer.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. I would just like, on behalf of the committee here, that we would really like to hear if you're feeling squeezed, if you're feeling like you don't have space or you don't have money, what can we do? You know, just come back with your needs and we'll work on trying to resolve some of that, because we really want to support your programs.
Thank you.
I have a question. What do you use for transportation when you go on your field trips?
We do school buses.
Okay, how much do those cost?
The rates really depend, but on average per trip, I think we're spending close to $3,800 on transportation.
Who owns the school buses? Is that something owned locally, or is that like rented out from a system?
We contract out.
This is maybe more of a staff targeted question, but would there be a world where there's like, an investment of, getting a bus for, whether that not necessarily specifically for like the after school program, but just for, Brisbane schools and after school programs and stuff like that to, upfront costs to save on that charter fee going forward? Would that be feasible?
I think that would be less cost effective than renting them like we do now, just given the overhead cost of maintenance and paying for a driver with special classification license. The school district does have a bus that they utilize. We have explored with them in the past utilizing that bus for trips. The challenge is the space is limited, and we have 100 kids plus LITs plus staff. And we can't all fit on the one bus. In addition to the buses that we contract for field trips, we also utilize like our park and rec van as overflow for staff and LITs, not for participants. But we are, open to exploring other ideas if they prove to be more cost effective than the approach we're taking now.
So how many usually are on the bus when you go on a field trip? Does it depend on where you're going, or?
Yeah, it also depends on our attendance that day. Sometimes parents sign up for a whole week and don't show up every day of the week because of other commitments. So it really depends on how many we have per day, but typically we have about 16 staff, 10 LITs, plus whatever amount of campers we have for that day.
Okay. One more question, at least for me. Would you say, I guess the way I'm hearing it is that space is a big limiter for you. Is that more than the funds? It's a space issue more than anything?
Like I said, if we're referring to full expansion of the program, it would be the evaluation of the budget and making sure we can accommodate that for all 8 weeks. In terms of space, we do have our modular over at Brisbane Elementary School, which is not large enough to accommodate all of our campers indoors at once. So that is a limiting factor. But we are, like I said, looking into our options for that and what we can do for this summer specifically.
Okay, great, thank you.
Have you guys ever used Lippman before?
We did use Lippman last year and the year before that. Yeah.
But you're not using it this year?
No, we'll be at Brisbane Elementary School this year.
How come you're not at Lippman?
Well, there are a lot of advantages to being at Brisbane Elementary School, including not having to move our entire camp to a different location, all of our supplies that we use to do all those fun activities with the kids. And we do have a playground at Brisbane Elementary School, and it is already our little hub. So this year it made more sense to stay at Brisbane Elementary.
I will also add that being at Lippman for the full duration of our summer camp presents a challenge for Lippman campus and the district office because they often do maintenance and have to prepare for students' arrival back on campus, which would conflict. So they did extend an offer for us to utilize Lippman again, but it would only be for half of the summer this year. And we felt that it would be logistically very challenging to relocate our program midsummer. So we opted to remain on the BES campus.
If you're on BES, do you have access to the auditorium area?
Yeah, so that's what
Okay.
we're working through right now with the principal and the school district office to be able to utilize the multi-purpose space there. Utilizing classrooms is a bit of a different ask, and historically we haven't done that because it's not been the preference of the teachers, and we can certainly respect that. But using the multi-purpose space is something that we're working through with the district now.
Yeah, that space seems like it would be perfect because it's right off the playground and it's right there, but yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. $3,500, okay. Old business, Mental Health Awareness Month highlights. And there was an attachment.
All right. Hello, commissioners. So, yes, it is May, and that is a variety of different awareness months, but we are focusing our efforts on mental health awareness and water safety month. So it was shared our current calendar that we have of the various activities for the community to be a part of. Last week we had our walk for mental health awareness, and we had really great attendance, and thanks to some of our commissioners who also were out there as well. It was lovely having your support, but we did increase the amount of participants at the walk this year and added some additional features like some ice cream at the end. Our inflatable rainbow was out on display, but lots of positive feedback on that particular event. Today was a senior day. Water aerobics happened at 10 a.m. and we have our weekly lunch at the community center, and we did have that seniors could swim for free 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at our community pool. We will be having some therapy dogs at the park tomorrow, sponsored by our Youth Advisory Committee. So if you're happening to be by the farmer's market or in the community park, go by and see some lovely therapy dogs. And then just a couple of other programs that we have are teen nights. We actually had a teen night this evening. That's not even listed on here. They were doing some basketball on the basketball courts, and a variety of music groups, and pickleball is always ongoing. And we also highlighted that folks can do water walking at the pool in the evenings, 4:30 to 7:30 as well. So just wanted to share what we've been doing this month and what's yet to come.
Thank you. New business, general plan review.
Okay, so I want to take a moment to introduce Ken Johnson from our Community Development Department. And he's here tonight to walk you through the city's general plan as it pertains to open space and parks and recreation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
Thank you. And thank you, Commission, for having me. Good evening. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the update to the open space element of the city's general plan, and specifically to receive feedback from the Commission on the elements, draft goals, policies, and programs that were provided to you in staff's memo. These will essentially serve as the backbone of the open space element and provide direction for future city actions. I'll take just a few minutes to introduce this topic and the process for adoption of the update, and I'll turn it over to the Commission for discussion and any comments that you may have for me. By way of background, a city's general plan contains its vision for its future. General plans have been required under state law since 1971. The law pertaining to general plans has been amended over the years a number of times, and it includes provisions governing its scope, its contents, and timing of updates on certain elements. Major topic areas in a general plan are referred to as elements, and there are 7 mandatory elements. The one, of course, is open space. The other 6 are land use, circulation, housing, conservation, noise, and safety. Brisbane also has a few optional elements. One of those is recreation and community services. And of course, that element is largely under this commission's purview. The open space element is related to the recreation and community services program and covers open space, parks, and open areas. Open space and parklands are fairly self-explanatory and are generally government agency owned. Open space are generally unimproved lands, except perhaps trails through some areas. And parks, of course, generally have improvements for recreational activities, whether active or passive. Nothing new to this commission. Open areas are those that are privately owned land but provide a dual purpose of serving the development but may also serve the public at large, providing visual respite or view corridors and with recreation improvements. An example of this is the Bay Trail at Sierra Point. So the emphasis of this element is on land resources and acquiring, preserving, and maintaining land for both this and future generations, and that can serve for habitat, visual respite, recreation. Open space lands can also provide separation from natural hazard areas such as floodplains. In 2023, the state passed Senate Bill SB 1425, which requires that every city and county is to review and update its open space element by January of next year. That Senate bill requires open space to address three things: access to open space for all, and this may include parks and open areas, not just open space, climate resilience and other co-benefits of open space, and that's correlated with the safety element, and rewilding opportunities for habitat. Since the update is required by the first of the year, we're planning to bring this to City Council for adoption in the fall of this year. So it's a fairly tight schedule. That's to follow input from this commission as well as Open Space and Ecology Committee and the Planning Commission. We started the update process with the Planning Commission workshop last month, and we have workshops scheduled with OSEC in just 2 weeks. The Planning Commission has a responsibility to formally make a recommendation to City Council prior to Council's adoption, but the topics in this element also relate to the work of this commission. So whether it's tonight or if there needs to be a follow-up, we'd definitely like your input on this. Staff's memo that was part of your packet tonight provided a table with comparison goals, policies, and programs that were, that's comparing the 1994 adopted general plan to those that are now proposed. And that's been reorganized essentially to try to align with state law and its structure. Those that are most closely related to this commission were highlighted in green in your packet. And my intent is not to read through all those, but if needed, I understand that that we have the staff report that we could pull up on the screen and look at any in particular if you need to. In brief, items within the draft open space element that are most related to this commission are within Chapter 2 on inventories and acquisitions, since the commission has an advisory role in establishing and maintaining parks throughout Brisbane. Then in Chapter 4, the section or chapter open space for outdoor recreation and access for all. And of course, Parks and Rec plays a key role in the implementation of this chapter. And it's related also to the programs that are provided in that optional element that I mentioned, the recreation and community services element. And that was also provided as just a reference, but we're not planning to update that at this time unless we need to for consistency. So in closing, staff is planning to prepare a complete draft of the element by early this summer, which will be made available to this commission as well as OSEC before it goes to Planning Commission for them to make a recommendation to City Council. So, well, any input you have tonight is great. If needed, there is some more time to come back to this. So with that, I'll turn it over to the commission. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
I just have a really basic question. So I guess it's like just to contextualize the element, what is the timeline? Like it would go into effect, I would imagine, sometime this year. And then you know, the Baylands is mentioned, like, what's the longevity?
Good question. And in the timeline, essentially, so as soon as city council adopts the element, it's effective. So our target, of course, is to beat the state deadline of January 1st. So sometime this fall, hopefully that would be adopted and effective. The Baylands process is going on at the same time, and in that I don't have a estimate offhand as to when city council will actually adopt a specific plan for the Baylands, but that's something that we need to make sure of consistency between the two. And if this element would have to come back again after the Baylands or at the same time, then we bring it back for another round. And also, I'll just add to that, overall, we'd be looking at a more holistic update of the general plan after the Baylands specific plan is adopted. And that time frame would be up to city council and factor into their budget and time frame. But I would expect within a couple of years, probably after the Baylands specific plan.
Thank you.
Is there any cost to this?
This is being done in-house by staff. We have not hired a consultant for this.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you.
I guess if, this is just a naive question, but if, like I'm looking at a couple things, number of things actually that would have a fairly high budget. So are these are things that, I guess if they're in this plan, but we don't have budget for it, what happens?
So this would be part of city council's priority setting and budgeting with their cycle on budget adoption to implement. I can't think of anything in here that has necessarily a specific date. Unlike the housing element, there are certain things we say must be done by such and such a date, and a lot of that's driven by state law. But I would say it's more up to council to set when these items get implemented.
And if there are new things that come up that we identify 5 years down the road that aren't in this plan, how is that folded in?
So if it's something that, it could be something that fits in with a program but might not be specifically called out, but is part of the intent of the program.
I see.
Pretty straightforward. I think council has the authority to add other things, whether they update the element at the same time. If that's needed, then they can do that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I mean, I guess reading through this, it's a lot, and it's general, I think, probably quite purposely to allow leeway. So I didn't necessarily see anything that I'm concerned about as a commissioner, but I did see a lot that kind of excited me and made me want to know more. And maybe it's that this is general and we will be filling in the details as we go. But like when you look at, you know, more open space resources, you know, creating more open space, purchasing open space where possible, those types of things. Again, general, it's all in the details for most of this.
Correct. And I will say city council has been very proactive over the years to purchase, especially the Brisbane acres. There have been a number of lands that have been purchased, and so there's a pretty good swath of acreage there that's now in open space.
And then I think the other thing that I saw a few references to San Bruno Mountain, and I know that's a county/state park. How does that mountain governance work with Brisbane's governance? Like, how do those two talk and align?
Good question. There is an overlap. So San Bruno Mountains, there's a habitat conservation plan which covers not just the lands of the state and county park, which ends at the city limit, but also extends into the Brisbane Acres, further down the hill to Southwest Bayshore, wraps around Crocker Park up to the Northeast Ridge as well. So anytime there's development within any of those lands, we have to coordinate with the county and with the state and federal agencies as well. What we do is set what's called an operating program that addresses long-term issues, that responsibilities essentially of the property owner for development of those lands.
And then, but also programs, so like education programs. If the county's doing an education program about San Bruno Mountain and say the native plants that are there, or the animals, or the geography, are we informed of that so that we are not essentially repeating the same program that they're doing?
I might defer to Noreen.
I will say that the bridge oftentimes is San Bruno Mountain Watch. They facilitate a lot of the educational programming. They facilitate a lot of the hikes, a lot of the conservation efforts, and they really do bridge the gap between the various cities that are connected to the mountain and the mountain as a county entity itself. So we as a city don't facilitate any of those programs without some involvement from them, and they're very well informed about what other cities are doing and what the county is doing. So there's an existing relationship there that helps to prevent duplication of effort.
Yeah, because I guess that'd be Daly cities, South San Francisco, and maybe
Colma.
some of, that's what I, okay, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
And I guess I'm still trying to understand this. So I know the state has required us to put some new things in this element. And I think our position as a city that we want to leave it as broad as possible and maybe capture some of the things that we're already doing and interested in that addresses these issue, or is one goal to add things that we want to do? Is it aspirational, or is it more we're checking the box and we are doing these things and we're writing it down, or some combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. So there's a hierarchy, I guess, from goal to policy to program, and when you get down to the program level, it should be fairly specific. Some of them might be ongoing, some of them might have a specific time set for it, but and even the programs are perhaps more general than for instance, the presentation just earlier tonight got into a lot of great detail on programs that the city is doing, and I don't know that you want to get to that level, but it's up for discussion.
I do have one little thing. I noticed that policy 2C1 requires impact fees, which is new. And I'd like to get filled in on that. That's fabulous.
I think that's an example of an aspirational one, right?
It's aspirational. It's not, okay, it hasn't passed.
It has not passed. There's 4 studies that are going to be going to council at some point in the near future. One of them is still being wrapped up. So that's coming before the council at some point. And the reason that I think it was included here is because there is an intent there to adopt some form of impact fees.
Okay, but it's in here.
Yes.
So it's written in here, so we
Right.
can point to it and say, this is part of our general plan. Okay,
I mean, at the end of the day, the city council has the final stamp of approval on this document, so.
yeah, okay, but I'm glad it's in there.
I was glad to see that too. And I guess it just begs the question, is there anything we want to, if we put it in there, then we're kind of held to it unless we decide to change it. It just made me wonder, like when we talk about expanding trails, do we put the Crocker Trail in there and the enhancement, not necessarily expansion, but the enhancement, or not? And is there any benefit to us in calling out some of the specific things that are important to this commission?
I leave that to
I
the
think-
commission. If
yeah.
there's something like that you would like to add, absolutely, we can name specific items to add.
I also, oh, sorry, real quick. I also wondered how our forming of our new nonprofit arm fits into this, and do we need to mention it even if it hasn't formed yet? But it's on the way, it's well on the way.
I don't think that this would be the appropriate place for that.
Okay, because this is more goals, this is more outlines of goals, and that's.
Right, that's a
just-
separate
That's
entity.
a separate entity.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, but like in under program 2.c on page 5, it does mention about recreation facilities, right? Like that, wouldn't that be part of it too?
Well, I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like in broad strokes, I think, have all the things we want to do here. But we could be more specific. We, as a commission, have a few specific things that we would like to see happen that we could potentially, is that what maybe this forum is for? Just to kind of provide you with a few examples of specifics we'd like to see?
Absolutely. If you want to expand any of these programs, and it depends on the wording, words such as shall, is saying we're going to do it. It's a little bit tricky when we don't have a date to shall to do that item. May consider, in having a list after may consider a clause, it's essentially just highlighting it as something that's important, but that you want it to be there with some flexibility. So
Yeah.
it really depends on those
My
wording choices.
my interpretation, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's intentionally broad and vague to allow for flexibility over the years as things change and trends change and the economy changes. I think there's a consistent approach throughout this document, even things that don't pertain specifically to Park and Rec. One of the programs is seek to extend the trail system to provide access, right? And that is kind of a driving force as a priority. And then from there, the commission can have future conversations about what approach is going to be taken to meet that goal or that priority. But you don't necessarily need to capture now, we're going to do this trail by this timeline. I don't think we're looking for that granular of information within a document like this.
Got it. Okay.
I think the main question that I think me and I think Julie and a lot of the commission has is about like the legality of a document like this. Like, is something if we did write something specific, would there be some sort of like, that has an impact on whether we can or that like somebody could not do that sort of thing? Like what is the legal standing of this document in terms of whether that's just being goals or things like that?
I would say with an element such as the housing element, which you probably had some familiarity with this as it was adopted a year ago, there definitely are implications with the state of not achieving something by a required deadline. I think, well, we want to achieve what we set out to achieve in this document. I don't know that there's a precedent, and this is probably a legal question for city attorney's office in terms of concerns, and we'll run this by him before we finally adopt it as well. But I'd point, actually, the program to C1 was brought up, and this was actually a program that goes back, way back to 1994.
Wow.
And still is being worked on. So it's, so yeah, we want to accomplish these things as quickly as we can, but within the budget constraints of the city.
Having actually been on the open space committee that wrote this document back in '94, I was on it. So much work. I mean, so much work to just come up with a framework. And really, it was required, and there was a big deadline to get it absolutely correct, and there was lots of, crossing T's and dotting I's to get it very, very, very correct. And I feel like now we're just kind of filling in, but I think it's important, at least it was impressed upon us when the original document was written, to have a framework of intent on the record so that we can say, all of these things are important. We are striving towards, these are our priorities. These are our priorities. And they don't have to be specific because we fill in priorities. We have our, in fact, it states that that we're supposed to do reports, correct, on what our priorities are.
That is correct.
That's part of the framework that it just gives us to give us legitimacy to bring these things forward to City Council. And that's all I think it is. I mean, all, but also very important. So
That's really useful context, Lisa, and that's kind of awesome that you worked on the original one. I mean, given all of that, my sense is, one, I think the things that we talk about are covered in broad strokes. I haven't noticed anything missing. And two, it's better to keep it broader, because I think that gets to my original question, the longevity. Like, I'm a business person used to working in 5-year strategic plans. So, but this is the long game. So I think general is good.
Can I just ask, so the development of the Baylands and then also the Sierra Point Park, do we share any of those things with other cities that surround us? Will we have to coordinate, is Sierra Point Brisbane only? And then how about the Baylands? Also Brisbane only? Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have to say this was really fun to look at, partly from comparing it from '94. I just thought it was.
there was no.
I was really glad to see this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I don't think that's necessary. So we'll return this as more of a complete document, putting the tissue to hold all these programs together. We'll return that to you. If there's any questions or comments, if you need planning staff to come back and talk some more, we're happy to do that. Otherwise, it will come as a for the Planning Commission to recommend to City Council, and of course, this body's statement on it would be most welcome, but I don't think you have to do that at this time. I think I've got the gist of your comments.
Any other comments or questions? Come on, this is your last chance for now.
I just wanted to say I appreciated staff keeping it in-house and giving the presentation and working on this. I think it's good to keep this sort of thing in city rather than doing a bunch of consultants and stuff like that, especially for an update. So just wanted to voice that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty, next on to, in new business, discuss ideas for National Parks and Recreation Month in July. Let's all go to Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Just a brief background on this for you, commissioners. Since 1985, National Recreation and Park Association in the United States has celebrated Park and Rec Month in July. And with that, there's always a theme in correspondence. This is the 40th anniversary of Parks and Recreation Month. And the theme this year is Build Together, Play Together. And so you'll see there some of those powerful statements. Together, we're building and maintaining sustainable parks and green spaces. Together, we're building thriving communities. Together, we're building high-quality programs. Together, we help people play and connect. So with that, just some discussion today. In the years past, we've created a monthly calendar and kind of compiled, similar to our Mental Health Month calendar, some of the items that we are already offering to the community, maybe some highlighted special events for that particular month. Last year, or the last 3 years, we've done s'mores in the park. That's always been a staple. We have preliminary spoken to Park and Rec Month in our event subcommittee at a very, very initial level. But today, we are just wanting to see from the commission, how would you like to see Park and Rec Month celebrated in Brisbane this year?
Well, if there's time for new things and stuff like that, I think Build Together, Play Together definitely leads me to think that, depending on the scale of the sort of thing we're going for, something where, especially, maybe people are building something, so that could be something as small as like Legos, or, we could try to tackle some sort of bigger, like, community-made art project together or something like that with the Arts Committee.
I love that idea. I think that would be so cool. And like the thing that really strikes me is the emphasis on together.
Any other ideas?
Do you have a list? I mean, generally there's a calendar and a list, and then you kind of go through it. Are there new things that we're supposed to come up with, or not necessarily?
My mic's not on. During that month, we have our Concerts in the Park series. So we have staff that are out there promoting and giving swag specifically for Park and Rec Month. We have hosted additional opportunities at Concerts in the Park. We've had a rock climbing wall. We were talking at the Concerts in the Park level of potentially having some lawn games, and that could get folded into Park and Rec Month. Like I said, we've had things at the farmers market. What was that? At the pool. So highlighting we have some summer events already planned at the pool. We have one on a Saturday in July that we would kind of fold into the calendar of things that we already have going on. But to your question, we are still open to new ideas, and as Byron shared, love that building concept, and Julie kind of building on together and how we can frame some of our programs that we have. And if you have any other ideas of ways we can intertwine some of those concepts, happy to hear it.
Well, not to jump the gun, but in our events meeting, we did talk about doing a pushpin show at Day in the Park. Oh, sorry, that's Day in the Park, yes. And that would be coordinated as a community art project where, we're gonna flesh it out, but still, that's something that I think could go on. But that's Day in the Park. When is Day in the Park? October. Too late. But something like that, where we do a whole community, a pushpin show, or it could be we're maybe making it more digital, where everybody takes a picture. Day in the life of Brisbane. Everybody takes a picture, and then then it all comes in as a giant art show of photography. And people submit their photographs and it's archived and we'll have a booth. I don't know, this is still kind of in, but this was kind of Tom's idea of doing a large community art project, you know? But there's lots of little projects that we could do. I mean, I remember one year I did chalk painting. Well, nobody participated but me, sadly. But, you know, we could do art projects. I love the idea of building something, you know, like you go out to Fort Funston and they have these giant log, you know, twig things of, what do they call it, driftwood that comes up on the beach, and people make these structures out of the driftwood. We got a lot of driftwood out at Sierra Point. We could do something like that, you know, so something we build
Thinking
together.
of those human like structures, like they've been used a little bit in protest, but you get people together and you could do like a together symbol or something, like, and then you take a picture. That could be fun.
I like the idea of the Legos, because my granddaughter and her boyfriend are constantly doing Legos. And there's a lot of kids that they've ended up meeting other kids through this Lego competition up in Washington, and they're like getting together and building them together. So I really like that idea.
We could do a citywide Lego challenge.
That would be fun. I would do
When
that.
when Sedge was little, he used to come into my room and say, I want to do a Lego challenge, and then I would say, okay, you got to make a bridge, you know, and he would spend all day on Lego challenges. So
So one thing I was just looking at other things that on the websites of other places that they've done, and this is not listed anywhere, but it was a combination of, I love this, some places have mentioned doing yoga on the beach, and we do kind of have Sierra Point, and having a class there rather than over in the gazebo would actually be kind of cool. I'd love to be, I love being over by the water, and so, yeah, if there's some things that we could do there to get people kind of over there. I think people go over there, but not like for a group activity. I think it's more often individual stuff.
Yeah.
But another kind of cool thing I saw, and this was when I was traveling somewhere, this town the name of the town is Hokitika, which is a great name. But they had, and I don't know if this is permanently there. I do have a great picture of it though. And they had used driftwood, and they had constructed like Hokitika with driftwood and tied it together with bind twine or whatever. And I wonder if we couldn't do something like that for Brisbane. I mean, I think it's a permanent structure at this particular town. It looked pretty permanent. But anyway, one way to use the build and driftwood. I don't know if we have that long of driftwood that were there though. But
we can find it.
I think another idea is like utilizing all of our spaces, right? I think like we also talked about like a map, right? The building of a map, maybe a cartoon map of like all of the areas that we utilize for Park and Rec, whether it's like the trails or like the marina. You know, maybe I know we can't kayak, right? We don't kayak in the marina, right? Like yoga, kayaking, right? Like things like that. Like what are things we can do to get us out and, you know, as a community and at different areas of Brisbane, right? We have like such a great, what do you call it? Like such a great, I guess, outdoor space of like things where obviously we have like, yeah, just so much. We have the mountain, we have the trails, we have our center of the heart, which is our playground, our community center.
our community park.
Yep, and our pool. Exactly. Yep. So how do we get those all involved? And it'd be also great to have like a kitchen where we can also teach people to have cooking. Like you also utilizing our facilities, right? Like our spaces there. But probably something that just like getting a blend of all of Brisbane.
We hear you. These are awesome ideas. This is why we have this conversation. We're taking diligent notes back here, and I think we'll massage some of the ideas and figure out what feels realistic to us to accomplish between now and July. But these are some really wonderful ideas, and I think we can emphasize the togetherness and the building in a lot of these ways.
Okay, this is something I've always wanted, and it might be a little controversial because I know some people like to keep things secret in this town. But there's a whole there's a whole bunch of fabulous trails up on the mountain. And they've been developed over generations. They're amazing. But I don't know if there's any formal maps of all the trails on the mountain. And now with technology, like when I take a trail, I map myself and I can see where I've gone. And like that particular loop, I call, the Margaret Street loop or, whatever. Anyways, I have my names for my little trails, but there are no names, there are no maps, there is no guide. It's all kind of secret, and that's fine. But maybe we could have a little guide for, a one-page guide just to get people on the mountain on some of the basic trails. Maybe not some of the crazy ones that go way, but going into the canyons, going into Buckeye Canyon and doing the little Buckeye Canyon Trail is amazing. And I can't believe that people really don't know about it.
Yeah.
So it's a project. I'd be happy to work on it. Anybody else? I'm sure other people might. Byron totally would be into it. So that's something I've always wanted to happen. Maybe it's something, get on the mountain day, because except for the ticks, which are really bad this year, it's amazing. And I think everybody should, because just people don't know how to do it.
I wonder if there can be some guided hikes. It's fun to play off of the secret San Bruno mountain hike, right? Could be one of the activities, and I bet
that would
Dan
be
Carter
fun.
would even be willing,
Oh,
not
yeah.
to volunteer someone, but he does those anyway, which could be really fun. Because Lisa's absolutely correct. The only way I could learn them was by going with people.
Yeah.
And that's fun too. Maybe you just make it an event. You want to go on a secret hike that nobody knows except for real Brisbane insiders. We have that, one day where somebody, me, Dan Carter, whoever knows about these trails, takes people on a hike. It's strenuous. It's not for, these hikes are not easy. So just be warned. Yeah, difficulty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like the ski resorts.
Great. Thank you for the recommendations and appreciate it.
I liked all the trail stuff, but I also wanted to take one step back to I know had a lot of crazy ideas just for July here. So I think the ones that I thought I wanted to reemphasize what was being said about the driftwood sign. I think that, in terms of the doable things that we mentioned, maybe if we can just, for one of the day in the parks or something, just throw out a bunch of non-dangerous materials, whether that be, maybe not specifically like driftwood and tied together, and just see what people make. It doesn't have to be a big thing or guided thing. If we can just get the materials and leave them out there, obviously non-dangerous materials, then just see what happens with it. Maybe we save it. Maybe it was just a fun thing that the kids tied to random things to each other and dragged them around. But, in terms of a manageable, doable version for July, I think that could be a great opportunity.
Okay, who's all ready to go collect driftwood? That would be fun. I like that. Okay, anything else on this before we move forward? Anybody? Okay, determine locations for off-site facilities tour. Once again, Santa Cruz. Throwing it out there.
So historically, the commission has opted to go off-site in June for their meeting. We have daylight a little bit longer in June, so it affords us the opportunity of a little bit more time if we're at outdoor facilities. Last year, we visited several community centers.
Recording in progress.
We visited several community centers in surrounding agencies in Millbrae and Burlingame and South San Francisco, mostly to assess how they utilize their space and their kitchen relative to future improvements at the Mission Blue Kitchen. And then prior to that, I think there was a few select facilities that we visited. We've done trails, we've gone to Mission Blue and the pool. So this is your opportunity to identify what your priorities are for that June offsite meeting. I will just put it out there, although you can veto it. I've heard a lot of conversation over the past year about stairways, especially respective to public art projects. And Trudy and I had a conversation about a stairway the other day that was not known to me. So that might be a nice idea to visit the stairways throughout the city, and examining those on a closer scale than just talking about them at a high level in these meetings. So, but I will open it up to you, and certainly open to your ideas. It's entirely up to you how you would like to utilize that time.
I love the stairways ideas. I feel like I'm always talking about them and I use stairways and I don't even know how to describe them. And like, I just have this vision of like Brisbane one day being the city of stars and stairways. And
Stairways to the stars.
stairways to the stars. There you go. So I think it would be really cool.
Stairway to heaven. Yeah, another thing we don't have a map for,
Right.
like all the stairways and alleys in Brisbane.
And one of the stairways, I just found out this past weekend, hosted a wedding.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
The original stairway, the one I was telling you about, the bicentennial stairway, which we called the Independence Stairway, but somebody changed it.
Wow.
Because we did it independently.
Is it the one at the end of Solano and then keeps going up? And
There was a wedding there.
really, where?
Right there where Art Montenegro's rock is in the bench. They did it there.
Wow.
And they put up a little arbor. I've already had 2 people volunteer to make an arbor. I said, no, don't do that. Wait. But there was a wedding there, just a little one. And they said it was lovely, just lovely. And they wanted to honor, it was one of a family member of Art Montenegro's. And they said they wanted him to be a part of it. So they decided just to have a small ceremony there. And then they went to, Mission Blue and had a little reception.
But
I
that,
thought,
but those
that is
spaces could be so improved.
Oh, and this woman that
yes.
told me everything, she had all kinds of ideas, which I'll tell you
Yeah,
about since you're on
yeah.
our commission. But
Yeah, so.
I just thought, those stairways are historic. I mean, they really are. And now we're trying to figure out how to get them in the Smithsonian along with our fire plugs, which are already there, which I told you about, Noreen. So we're trying to figure out how we did it before so we can put the stairway in there. Because it was 1976 when it was done for the bicentennial. And here we are. It's going to be 2026 pretty soon. So it's 50 years old already.
Wow.
Are we all stairway bound?
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds great to me too.
All right.
Do a step class. Let's go.
So,
But we went to Firth Park a couple of years ago. Has anything changed there?
The only thing that's changed was we did restoration on the 2 art pieces that are there. They had to be repaired before the Public Art Committee could publish an RFP to solicit an artist to kind of redesign them. So that's been the only update there so far. It is on the radar of the Public Art Committee to examine other opportunities to incorporate functional art. They talked about doing kind of a railing along Glen Park Way just to keep kids from running into the street. And reconfiguring that front sign that says Firth Park in stone. They've looked at that also. So it's on their radar. But beyond that, nothing else has been done yet.
Okay. The terrapin's still there, right? The North
The
American.
turtle. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a North American terrapin. That's what I was told.
There was, I remember I ran into Nicole's office. There was an event company that did a big display there, and it was fabulous. They came and they brought very high-end event pieces. I don't even know how to describe them, but furniture and tent-like structures that were large and made out of bamboo and just really fabulous. And it made the park look amazing. They used it as a photo shoot, but I think that even just that photo shoot, if you saw what they did with that little park, They transformed it.
Mhm.
I think some of our parks and spaces can be transformed so easily into really wonderful event spaces. And, First Park is underutilized. So anyways, if we could possibly get those pictures, that would
Yeah,
be great.
they followed up last week and said, just wanted you to know that we do still plan on sharing those photos with you. They're
Oh,
just
yay.
being edited, so
Yeah.
they'll send over when they're done.
That would be great, just to put it out there, because that could also be used to just promote other spaces in town that, just with a little bit of zhuzhing, you have some really wonderful spaces.
Did they pay a fee for that?
No.
No?
They did a reservation with us, so we knew that they were going to be there. They signed the paperwork that we knew that they were there.
Okay.
So we don't want people to just construct those types of things without our knowledge.
So I have one other, so I guess first for context, or actually maybe for restriction, if we do the stairs, we would look at like you'll pick out kind of the main stairways in Brisbane that you'd like us to see, and we'd go to each of those. Is that kind of what the thought is?
Yeah, if you have requests to visit certain stairways, then certainly send them my way. Otherwise, I'll just work directly with Trudy to identify the ones that we want to visit that day. I think it probably makes sense to go and see the one that's the Alvarado to San Benito that's going to be constructed over the next several months with public art integrated. But beyond that, I'm happy to take suggestions. Otherwise, Trudy and I can come up with a list of stairways to visit that day. And everybody should plan to wear comfortable shoes.
Is that good with everyone? All righty, thank you. Reports. Subcommittees. Concerts in the park. Anyone there?
There was a meeting.
There was. I have Nicole's notes. Do you did you? I can read them real quick, or I'm not going to read them, but I do have them.
That would be
available.
great.
Hold on one moment, because I had them up and then I moved to a different page. Okay. So first of all, thank you, Nicole, for being the person who pays attention. So I think our this meeting, the date was the 22nd of April was when we met. So already almost a month ago. I don't know how that happened. I think one thing at the start, I don't remember this being on a part of our discussion, but that you did mention in the notes for us that you reached out to Henley Events Resources in late April, and that they had agreed to offer a 50% discount on our future orders with them. So that's just something for us to keep in mind, I think. We did talk a little bit about some of the activities that we might make available concurrently at the concerts in the park. So things like cornhole or other lawn games. I grew up playing croquet as a kid, and for those people that don't know how to do that, it's really frustrating. Bocce ball, some other things. So we thought maybe we could offer some things like that. That these might maybe work better on the Sunday rather than the Fridays, but still something for us to kind of think about. Julie did raise the idea of an umbrella policy insurance program that maybe could be shared with the Lions Club or the Moms of Brisbane for, I think, for selling alcohol. Is that right? That it's not cheap. And so if there's some way that we could somehow look into combining that into some sort of an umbrella policy rather than us paying one insurance policy rate and then Brisbane doing the same, or Lions doing the same, that would be something worth looking into. And then I think another idea was to offer some pop-up tents or chairs for some of the Sunday afternoon, just for people who want to get out of the sun or have a seat rather than sit on the grass, or who forgot their chairs like I usually do, as just more of a, just to kind of help people out who maybe didn't have a chance to plan. I think then one other thing is to spotlight donation making by doing some sort of a memory or in honor board, or I think that was probably or else maybe occasions like birthdays or anniversaries. And I think that's it. Those are the main things. I guess it's worth mentioning Noreen's working on swag.
I'm very excited. We hear some cool concert swag is coming. Thank you, Renee. The one thing I will say is Nicole also sent out to all of us kind of a sign-up sheet for the concert. So if you haven't already signed up for some, we are going to be the people who are there, and we might do the song dedications.
Oh, cool.
And we're definitely collecting the money at the event. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Great. Yes, I think you covered it. And I did also want to share that while we have our new online platform through our registration system active, there's a donation platform, which we have yielded some great donations from there. Don't quote me on the number, but there is also an option through Venmo, which is another easy option. So we will continue to share that information out.
All righty. Events Subcommittee. Here she is.
That's me and Tom. So we had a wonderful events meeting. We talked a lot about the garden tour, which we're planning for in mid-August. It'll be kind of a late summer, early fall season. Anyways, we just talked about some of the details of that. I did put out a call for gardens, for new gardens today on Facebook, and I've already got 3 new gardens, just like in the first couple hours. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping to get some new stuff. People seem to be really excited about the whole idea. We also thought that we would include San Bruno Mountain Watch and the Mission Blue Nursery on the same day, so they could be open and be part of the tour. And they said yes, they're going to be open. It says yes, we'd like to participate and can host our summer plant sale. So that same day, that would just be fun. Yeah, they can have some family-friendly art activities, and it'd just be a great. I'm not sure if we were talking about ending at Mission Blue. I think we were. I think we were talking about ending there. Anyways, I've got a list of lots of gardens. I'm working on an art project to give all the participants. Don't quote me, but it's going to be fun. Then we talked about Day in the Park. We decided to do no bake-off this year, but we might do a cookie not a major baking thing, but we might have a cookie contest. That's in the works, because cookies are easy. That's just a thought. But we also, the big thing was we're going to try and do a push-pin Day in the Park booth, which Tom, we all talked about earlier, which is a big citywide photography event. And we're going to try and make a really dynamic booth and make that happen. But that's in the works. We also talked about a film festival for 2026. We would really like something like Luna Fest, only more Brisbane centric, maybe more including of kids and other native grown filmmakers. It's a kid event in the AM and adult fundraiser in the evening. We don't know if we're going to make our own film festival or if we're going to possibly get a film festival in from another source, but we're looking at that. Anyways, and hopefully this will support the foundation once it's created. That's about it.
Yeah. Tom had mentioned that we could get a film festival and then also be playing like some of ones made by people in town, since we may or may not get enough just with people in town, so it'd be a good combination there, both seeing state or country famous ones and cool ones just within town. And then we had talked about in that afternoonish time having all the kids come in, and then in the evenings kids can run outside, have almost like a parents' night out set up outside where the adults can continue with more adult activities and adult film and stuff like that.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Foundation Feasibility Ad Hoc Subcommittee Meeting. Who did that one?
It was Fernandez. You know, I think that one was like a less happened, but we were just basically talking about what we wanted to do in terms of next steps, if memory serves. And so the main thing is we're going to have a meeting on May 22nd that includes those volunteers in the community who are interested in, being part of this. So definitely people like Jessica, Alan, a couple of other folks, and I would invite you, I think Noreen sent out the presentation that I created to recruit potential board members. So if you have someone in mind, that would be a good meeting for them to attend. We're gonna use that time to come up with a mission, vision, values, and ideas for naming. So, people who really want to be in from the ground floor are great. That's what I recall.
All right, moving on. Public Art Advisory Committee.
I'm happy to report out because Julie and Tom were not there. But that's okay. We're gonna get you in the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
So we provided a fund balance update. We typically do that quarterly or at least a couple times a year with the Public Art Committee. And then we reviewed the existing implementation guidelines, and the committee made recommendations for edits and modifications to make sure that it was consistent with the recently adopted Public Art Master Plan. So that will be coming back to the Public Art Committee at their next meeting, which is Monday, the 19th. And they also did a bit of a deep dive into the priorities that came out of the master plan and identifying things that they hope to accomplish within the 1 to 3 year time frame, 4 to 6 year time frame, and then more long term. So again, they will be revisiting that, making some kind of official recommendations for priorities over the next year at the meeting on the 19th.
Thank you. And now, setting subcommittee meetings. What do we got?
I will say, I would like to have a Festival of Lights subcommittee meeting in the near future, and in briefly mentioning to JoJo and Aaron Becker, who we're hoping to have return again. They did provide 2 dates that would work with them in the next 2 weeks, so I'm happy to coordinate that with Jovi to the subcommittee offline if you'd like, or I can share the date with you now, whatever is easier. Well, I will pull that up. Give me one moment. It was, of course, May 19th or May 26th, I believe. Oh gosh, sorry, it just went away. Yeah, not the 26th. It said, could we do 3 p.m. on Wednesday, May 21st, or 4 p.m. on Tuesday, May 20th? Sorry, those are the 2 options.
Oh, okay.
21st or the 20th? Okay. If possible, yes. I could also see if they have flexibility in the timing. I can ask.
Yeah, that would work for me too.
4:30 on the 20th?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm still on there. Oh, yeah. I'll work with you guys' schedule.
The 20th, next week,
Next week.
Okay. I will check in with them and we will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. We will report back.
Okay.
And then we already have scheduled public art and the foundation feasibility. And Trudy, I know you had asked about the idea ad hoc, so I did talk with the staff representatives. They're going to be doing their reorg this month and reassigning representatives. So we should know who that rep is within the next month or so, and then we can schedule a meeting.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I've been watching their meetings. So. And open space. You think we're complicated? Oh my God.
I was on that.
There's a place in heaven for those people.
I was on that committee.
All right. Any other subcommittees we need to set for now? All right. Commissioners?
Do we need to, with the garden tour, that's just gonna keep rolling along until we feel like we need another meeting? Yeah,
I'm okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm okay
okay,
with that.
because I've still got a lot to do for that.
And we have our structure
What's
from
the
last
date
year.
on that, Lisa?
August 16th?
August
It's a
16th.
Saturday.
Commissioners? Anybody have anything they want to share? Okay. Staff, anything you want to share?
Yes, please. Before Nicole dives into the full report, I do want to share that the public art project for the Alvarado to San Benito stairway is in motion, and the mosaicist wanted to include, and part of the idea came from the committee as well, wanted to include an opportunity for residents to be part of that process, to be part of the art. So we're collecting donations for ceramic and porcelain tiles and marbles that could be potentially incorporated into the design of the mosaic that will be on the risers of the stairway, so that people can go and see a piece of themselves in it. So over the next several weeks, we have collection bin stations at the pool, the Sunrise Room, and City Hall. So we'll be collecting. So if anybody has any donations that they want to contribute to that project, then we invite you to do so. Go ahead.
What do you mean by donations? Just money?
No, like porcelain tiles or ceramic tiles that you have around your house, or
In the mosaic.
marbles that could be incorporated into the mosaic. Yeah, materials.
Materials.
Thank you.
Written communications?
Oh, I do have a few
Oh,
more
sorry.
staff updates. You know we couldn't keep it that short, Trudy. I'll keep it quick though.
No, please don't.
Did want to share that our registration for fall preschool and club rec after school program is on June 3rd. We were out at the BES picnic day, had a big A-frame with that information. We did receive a request from the principal that there's something occurring earlier in that morning, and asked if we could push back registration till a little 9:30. So we said, yes, we hear you, to hopefully make it easier for families. So 9:30 opening, and easier for Jovi as well, I think. Senior trip at Filoli yesterday went off well, and there is another trip to SF MoMA on June 10th. And then, as was mentioned earlier, we do have our summer concert donations open and available. Summer kickoff, it'll be here before we know it. We have our camp enrollment. Our staff training week is June 16th to the 20th. We do already have started marketing that we are closed at the pool that week, and that is just because our lifeguards are in the midst of full day in service, so we wouldn't have lifeguards if we were open. So just so the community is aware of that. As Angela mentioned, our LAT program is in the midst of being prepared. There's a number of aquatics events, lessons, and then our Dink and Dunk camp is going to be returning with 3 weeks of fun this summer. Other upcoming events, tomorrow is Bike to Work Day. That's bright and early, 6 a.m. You'll see Ricardo there if you go out. He has a bunch of swag and goodies to distribute to those who bike on by. This weekend is BDW Recital at Mission Blue, the 17th and 18th. I know they're putting in a lot of hard work on, I think, Where the Wild Things Are is the production. The Mermaid and Pirate event is coming up at the end of the month on the 31st. We will be having a Pride event at the pool, June 13th, as well as 2 others, one in July and one in August. August is actually going to be a little birthday party for the pool, celebrating 25 years. We have a summer camp viewing day on June 2nd for those who are signed up for our camp program to be able to meet with staff and get a little behind the scenes look at our day-to-days. Preschool graduation occurring on June 5th. Chamber of Commerce has their Little Night in Reno, their big fundraiser, on June 7th. San Bruno Mountain Watch has their summer solstice event June 21st at 4 p.m., and that is a new event this year. As was mentioned, concerts in the park July and August, and save that date for garden tour August 16th. That's all that we have.
This reminds me, just 1 second, I meant to mention this last meeting and I forgot, but Nicole, I think you all might have seen this at the blast, but she won the President's Award at the California Parks and Recreation Society Annual Conference in Sacramento and was called to the stage with thousands of people. So proud of you. And I just think it's like an indication of the awesome powerhouse team we have.
Thank you for that, Julie.
Anything else? Well, it's 8:12 and this meeting of the Brisbane Park and Recreation Commission is adjourned.
Yay. Great.